The alien mistress lived in a palace made of glass and gold. The walls glowed in the night, shining like the stars outside her world. She had power, wealth, and beauty that could make even kings bow before her. Yet in her heart she trusted no one. The galaxy was full of liars, traitors, and thieves. Riches could buy loyalty for a short time, but sooner or later, greed always broke it apart. She had seen it again and again. Servants who swore to die for her had turned their blades against her the moment they saw treasure. Friends had sold her secrets for a single chest of gold. Even her own blood had betrayed her once. That is why she never trusted anyone except one man. A human. This human was her bodyguard. He was not the strongest among her warriors, nor the fastest. Yet he was different. His eyes were steady, his hands calm, his words few. He stood like a wall between her and the dangers of the galaxy. Many times assassins had tried to end her life, but his blade was always faster. She had rewarded him with land, jewels, and titles, but he had refused them all. "My duty is enough," he would say in his plain human tongue. This puzzled her. No one turned down gold. No one turned down power. Was he truly loyal, or was he simply waiting for the right moment to take everything? She had to know. She had to test him. One night, when the palace was silent and the moons were high, the alien mistress ordered a chest of pure gold to be placed inside the humans' quarters. Not just any gold, this was ancient gold from her people's vaults, stamped with the seal of forgotten emperors. Each bar shone with a strange light, almost alive. Any other being would have fallen to their knees at the sight of it. She gave a secret order that no one was to disturb him that night. Then, hidden in the shadows, she watched. The human entered his quarters, weary from guarding her halls all day. His footsteps slowed when he saw the chest. His brow furrowed. Slowly, he stepped closer and placed his hands on the lid. With one push, the chest opened, and the golden glow filled the room. Bars upon bars of wealth lay before him, enough to buy ships, armies, and entire planets, enough to make a slave into a king. The alien mistress leaned forward, her heart quickening. This was the moment. Would he laugh with greed? Would he take the gold and run? Would he hide it and lie to her tomorrow? Every servant, every guard, every advisor she had ever known would have already stuffed their pockets full. But this was no ordinary servant. This was a human. The man stared at the gold for a long time. His hand brushed across one of the bars. The light reflected in his eyes. The alien mistress could almost hear the whispers of temptation. Her lips curved into a smile. Yes, now she would see his true face. She imagined him lifting the gold, perhaps hiding it under his bed. She imagined him looking around, making sure no one was watching. But then, he surprised her. He shut the chest with a sharp sound. His hand lingered on the lid, not to claim it, but to push it away from him. His voice was low, almost a whisper, but the alien mistress heard it clearly. "Gold cannot buy my honor." His words struck her like a blade. Honor? Who still spoke of honor in a galaxy that worshipped wealth? She felt a strange emotion rise within her. Not anger. Not disappointment. Something else. Something she had not felt in years. Curiosity. Was he different from the others? Or was this just another mask he wore until the right time? The human sat down on his bed, his back straight, his eyes never once glancing at the chest again. To him it seemed the gold did not exist. The alien mistress stood in the shadows, watching him breathe, watching him close his eyes and fall into sleep as if nothing had happened. Her golden trap had failed, or had it revealed the truth? She clenched her hands. The human had passed the first test, but she was not done. No, this was only the beginning. As the night grew colder, the alien mistress returned to her throne chamber, her mind restless. For the first time in many years, someone had made her doubt. Perhaps, she thought, perhaps this human was not like the rest of the galaxy. Perhaps his loyalty was not for sale. But one question haunted her still. If not gold, then what did he truly desire? And in the silence of her palace, she decided she would find out, even if it meant breaking him apart piece by piece. The next morning, the palace was awake with music, whispers, and the sound of servants rushing through the golden halls. Yet inside the mistress's throne chamber, silence ruled. She sat on her tall, shining throne, her sharp eyes fixed on the human standing before her. He was calm, as always, his face unreadable. No greed, no fear, no guilt. She had expected at least a flicker in his eyes after the golden trap she had set. But there was nothing. The chest of gold had not moved. Every bar was still inside. This unsettled her. Every being she had ever known wanted gold. Why did this human reject it so easily? Was it stubborn pride? Was it a trick? Or did he truly have a heart that could not be bought? She leaned forward on her throne, her long fingers tapping the armrest. "You found the chest in your quarters last night," she said at last, her voice soft but sharp like a blade. The human nodded. "I did. And yet you did not touch it." "I did touch it," he answered. "I closed it." Her lips curved slightly. "Do you not know what that gold could have given you? Ships, castles, slaves at your feet. You could have been rich beyond measure." The man's eyes lifted to hers, steady and unshaken. "I am not your servant for gold. My honor is not for sale." Those words stung her again, deeper this time, honor. A word she had not spoken in centuries, a word that had no value in her world of politics and betrayal. Honor could not feed armies. Honor could not build empires. Yet this human carried it like it was heavier than any chest of gold. She studied him in silence, searching for weakness in his voice, for cracks in his armor. But there were none. The alien mistress leaned back, her eyes narrowing. If gold could not move him, then she would try something far greater. She decided to open a new door for him, one that had destroyed even the strongest of men. "You speak of honor," she said, her voice almost mocking. "Let us test it further. Tonight you will guard my personal treasure room. No being outside my blood has ever stepped inside. Even my council has not walked beyond its door." The human frowned slightly. "Why me?" "Because I wish it," she replied quickly, hiding her true reason. The truth was, she wanted to see what he would do when faced not with a single chest, but with a mountain of riches. The treasure room was filled with gold, jewels, and artifacts older than empires. But more dangerous than treasure, it held secrets. Secrets carved into the walls in the ancient tongue of her people. Secrets that could destroy her throne if revealed. The human bowed his head. "As you command." That evening the palace grew quiet. The alien mistress walked through the long corridor leading to the forbidden door. Her guards stood back, for even they were not allowed beyond. With a wave of her jeweled hand, she ordered the heavy doors to be opened. They creaked slowly, groaning like old bones, and the golden light spilled out into the dark hall. "Guard it well," she said, her voice smooth but her eyes sharp with hidden fire. "Do not touch what is inside. Do not speak of what you see." The human gave a single nod and stepped inside. The alien mistress did not follow him. She stayed outside, her back against the cold wall, listening, waiting. She imagined his face when he saw the mountains of gold. She imagined his breath quicken, his heart racing. She imagined the silence breaking as his hands filled with wealth. A cruel smile touched her lips. Yes, this time even he would fail. But when the human stepped into the treasure chamber, he did not rush to the gold. He did not run to the piles of jewels. Instead, his eyes fell on the walls. Strange carvings glowed in the golden light. They told stories, not of beauty but of blood. He saw images of wars, of slaves chained in fields of fire, of emperors burning planets to dust, and beneath it all he saw something worse, the truth. The gold was not just wealth. It was cursed. Each bar held the whispers of the dead, the cries of those who had been killed for it. As he walked deeper, the whispers grew louder, pulling at his mind. The human clenched his fists. He had fought men, beasts, and assassins. But this was a different kind of battle. Outside, the alien mistress leaned closer to the door, straining to hear. She waited for the sound of him falling to greed. She waited for him to break. But what she heard instead was silence, a silence that felt stronger than walls of stone. Then suddenly a sound echoed from within. The heavy crash of gold being touched. The alien mistress's eyes widened. Her heart raced. He had finally given in. Or so she thought. Inside the chamber, the human lifted a single bar of gold. It burned cold in his hands. And then, in one sharp motion, he hurled it across the room. The bar struck the wall with a scream that was not metal but human. The chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The alien mistress gasped. Her trap had not only failed, it had awakened something. And as the echoes faded, she realized the truth. This was no ordinary human. This was someone who could resist even the curse her people had hidden for centuries. But resistance had a price, and tonight the palace would learn what it were. The palace was quiet, but inside the treasure chamber the silence was alive with whispers. The human stood in the center, his chest rising and falling as he stared at the piles of gold glowing like fire. The bar he had thrown across the room still lay against the wall, faint smoke curling from its edges as though it were alive. The air was heavy, thick, as if unseen hands pressed down on him. He did not move toward the gold again. Instead, his eyes followed the carvings etched into the walls. Each one glowed faintly in the golden light, telling stories older than empires. His footsteps echoed softly as he walked closer. He saw images of alien emperors, tall and cruel, their crowns carved sharp like weapons. Beneath them, thousands of slaves bent low, their faces twisted in pain. He saw entire planets burning, their people turned into dust, their screams etched into stone. And then he understood. The gold was not just treasure. It was history, bloody history. Each piece was stolen, soaked in the suffering of millions. The voices whispering to him were not illusions. They were real. They were the souls trapped inside the cursed wealth. They begged, they cried, they screamed for freedom. The human clenched his fists. His honor had carried him this far, but now something darker pressed against his mind. The gold spoke in a new voice. It was not begging. It was offering. "Take me," it hissed. "I will make you strong. I will give you an army. I will make you king." The sound slithered inside his head, tempting, pushing, pulling. Outside, the alien mistress leaned against the wall, her eyes fixed on the door. She could not see inside, but she could imagine it clearly. She knew the gold whispered to him. It had broken stronger men before. She smiled coldly, certain this time he would fall. But then a new sound shook the chamber. A scream that was not human, not alien, but something in between. The gold he had thrown trembled, and cracks began to form in the carvings on the wall. The chamber was waking. The human stepped back, his eyes darting around. The whispers grew louder, almost deafening now. Take us, set us free, or we will take you." His hands pressed against his ears, but the voices poured through anyway. His knees bent slightly as if the weight of all that suffering had fallen on his shoulders. And then, in the middle of the chaos, he felt it. Something hidden behind the wall. A shape faint but powerful. He pressed his hand against the carving, and the stone was cold, colder than the gold. His palm tingled as though something inside the wall had reached back to touch him. He pushed harder. The stone cracked and a narrow seam of light burst through. The alien mistress heard it too. The sound of stone breaking. Her smile faded. This was not part of her plan. She straightened, her eyes sharp, her heart beating fast. She had locked her treasure room for a reason. Not only because of the wealth, but because of what slept inside it. If the human touched it, if he opened what she had hidden, everything could change. Inside, the wall split open, revealing a hidden chamber behind the carvings. A pale light spilled out, different from the golden glow. It was colder, sharper, like the edge of a blade. The human narrowed his eyes and stepped closer. Inside the hollow space lay not treasure, but a single object, a mask. It was not large, not heavy. But the moment his eyes fell upon it, he knew it was no ordinary relic. The mask shimmered with shifting colors as if alive, and the whispers grew frantic. "Do not touch it. Do not wear it. Leave it." Others screamed the opposite. "Take it, claim it. It is yours." The human stood frozen, his heart pounding. The mask seemed to call his name, though no lips moved. He could almost see his reflection in it. Not the man he was, but the man he could become. Strong, powerful, feared. Outside, the alien mistress's hands tightened. She whispered under her breath, "Not the mask. Anything but the mask." She had hidden it long ago, sealed it with blood and stone. The mask was older than her empire. It was said to be the face of a god who had cursed her people. Whoever wore it would gain power beyond measure, but at the cost of their soul. Inside, the human reached out slowly. His hand trembled above the mask, the light painting his skin in strange colors. The voices screamed, some urging him forward, others begging him to stop. Sweat rolled down his face. His honor told him to walk away. His curiosity told him to know the truth. His fingers touched the edge of the mask. It was cold, so cold it burned. His body stiffened. His mind filled with a flood of visions. He saw armies kneeling before him. He saw planets burning in his name. He saw the alien mistress herself bowing to him, her crown shattered. He pulled his hand back with a gasp, his chest heaving. But the mask still pulsed, waiting, calling. The alien mistress's heart sank. She whispered to herself, "If he wears it, the galaxy will never be the same." And in that moment she realized her golden trap had gone too far. The test had become something greater, something dangerous. The human stood still, staring at the mask, torn between honor and temptation. And then he stepped closer. The human's hand hovered near the mask, his breath sharp in the silence. The treasure room no longer felt like a room. It felt like a trap of shadows and voices, as if the walls themselves were alive. The mask pulsed faintly with light, like a beating heart waiting to be claimed. Its surface shimmered with colors that shifted too quickly for the eye to follow. Gold, silver, black, red, all at once. The voices returned, louder now, pressing into his skull. Some whispered softly, tempting him. "Wear me and you will never kneel again." Others hissed warnings. "Leave now. Run before it takes you." The mix of promises and threats made his chest tighten. Sweat slid down his temples. He closed his eyes, trying to silence them, but closing his eyes only made the vision stronger. He saw himself wearing the mask, his hands raised high as alien armies dropped their weapons before him. He saw the galaxy bowing, even the alien mistress kneeling, her golden crown shattered at his feet. The image was sharp, too sharp, and it burned into his mind. The human pulled his hand away, shaking his head, his voice hoarse. "I am not your slave." His words echoed, but the voices only laughed. The mask pulsed brighter, like it was mocking him. Outside, the alien mistress pressed her hand against the wall. Her sharp ears caught faint sounds from inside, the whispers, the hum of power. She closed her eyes, her chest heavy with fear. She had not wanted him to find the mask. She had hidden it deep in the forbidden room, sealed it with curses and stone. She had believed no one would ever touch it. But the human had broken what others could not. Her mind raced. The mask was older than her throne, older than her people's empire. Legend said it belonged to a god of conquest, a god who had no face of his own. He had given his mask to mortals, and every mortal who wore it became a tyrant, consumed by its hunger. To wear it was to lose oneself forever. And now, the human stood closer to it than anyone had in centuries. Inside, the human took a step back. He wanted to leave, but the whispers followed him. "Coward, you fear power. You will always serve others, never rule. Wear me and I will make you free." The word free cut through him like a blade. He thought of his life before the palace. Poor, nameless, a wanderer without land or legacy. He had been nothing. And now he had a chance to be everything, his fist clenched. He growled low, his voice trembling but firm. "Gold cannot buy me. Power cannot own me." The moment he spoke, the mask's light dimmed as if wounded by his words. But then, with a sudden pulse, the treasure chamber shook. Piles of gold spilled to the floor, clanging in a storm of noise. Dust fell from the ceiling. The voices grew into a scream. The human dropped to one knee, covering his ears. The alien mistress stumbled back outside, her eyes widening. The palace itself was trembling. She shouted an order, and guards rushed down the halls, weapons ready. But she raised her hand and stopped them. "No one enters," she hissed. This was not a fight they could win. This was a war of the soul. Inside, the human forced himself to stand. His muscles ached, but his spirit burned. He stared at the mask as the whispers clawed at him. For a moment, he almost believed he could destroy it. His hand reached for the hilt of his sword. Perhaps if he struck it down, the curse would end. But as he lifted his blade, the mask laughed. Not in whispers, but in a voice that filled the entire chamber. It was deep, ancient, and cruel. "You cannot destroy me. You cannot escape me. You are mine already." The sword shook in his grip. His knees trembled. He roared and swung down, his blade flashing through the air. It struck the mask with a burst of sparks. The ground split. The carvings on the walls cracked open, and a wave of cold wind swept through the chamber. The alien mistress gasped outside as the door shook violently. A scream, long and terrible, rose from inside the treasure room. A scream that was not human. She knew then the mask had awakened fully. When the dust cleared, the human stood panting, his sword in his hand. The mask lay on the ground, untouched by the blow, glowing brighter than before. It was not broken. It was laughing. And then, without warning, the door burst open. The alien mistress stepped back as the human staggered into the hall. His face was pale, his eyes burning with something she could not name. In his hand, he still held his sword, but in the air around him, the whispers followed like shadows. She stared at him, her heart pounding. "What have you done?" she whispered. The human looked at her, his voice low and heavy. "I resisted, but it will not stop calling me." And as the palace trembled again, a new sound filled the halls, the footsteps of assassins moving quickly toward them. The mistress's eyes went cold. The mask was awake. The palace was under attack, and her human soul hung by a thread. The palace hall shook as the sound of boots echoed in the distance. The human stood near the open door of the treasure chamber, his chest heaving, the cursed whispers still clinging to him like smoke. The alien mistress watched him closely, her sharp eyes filled with both fear and something she could not name, but she had no time to question him. The assassins were coming. The first shadow appeared at the end of the corridor, tall, armored, moving with deadly speed. Then another and another. Soon the hall was filled with figures cloaked in black, their blades glinting with venomous light. Their eyes were cold, trained not on the human but on the mistress herself. The human raised his sword, his stance steady though his body trembled from the weight of the whispers. His voice was low but firm. "Stay behind me." The alien mistress's lips curled faintly. Even after resisting gold and the mask's power, he still chose to stand in front of her. She felt a strange pang in her chest, but she pushed it away. She was not a woman of emotions. She was a ruler, and rulers trusted no one. The assassins rushed forward. Steel met steel as the human charged. His sword clashed with the first assassin's blade, sparks flying. The hall rang with the sound of battle. He fought with precision, each strike powerful and clean. His movements were not driven by greed or fear, but by something purer, duty. Yet the assassins were many. Blades slashed from every side, forcing him to move faster, harder. His arms burned, his breath grew heavy. Still he did not falter. One assassin fell, then another, their blood staining the golden floors. The palace itself seemed to tremble under the storm. The alien mistress watched, her claws digging into her throne staff as she realized the truth. These were no ordinary assassins. Their armor bore the secret mark of her council, the very leaders who had sworn loyalty to her. Rage burned in her chest. Her own council had betrayed her. As the human struck down another foe, the council's leader stepped into the hall. He wore no mask, no cloak, only the smug smile of a man who believed victory was already his. His voice carried like poison. "Alien Mistress," he said, bowing mockingly, "your reign ends tonight. The galaxy is tired of your rule, your greed, your false power. You cling to a human's blade for protection, but even he will betray you." The mistress's eyes narrowed, glowing with fury. "You dare turn against me in my own palace?" The council leader laughed, then turned his gaze to the human. His voice grew softer, smoother like honey. "Human, you do not belong at her side. She uses you as a shield, nothing more. But we can give you more than gold. We can give you the galaxy." The human froze for a moment, his sword still dripping with blood. The whispers from the mask grew louder in his ears, echoing the council leader's promise. "Yes, take it, be king, rule them all." His hand tightened on his weapon. The council leader stepped closer, his eyes gleaming. "Kill her. Strike her down. And everything she has will be yours. The gold, the armies, the throne. You will no longer be a servant, you will be master." The alien mistress's breath caught. Her chest tightened as she stared at the human. For the first time in centuries, fear touched her heart. Not fear of death, but fear of betrayal. Would he choose her? Or the power offered so easily? The hall grew silent, every assassin pausing, every eye fixed on the human. Even the cursed whispers seemed to hold their breath. The human stood in the center, blood on his sword, temptation burning in his mind. His honor pulled him one way, the mask's whispers pulled him another. The alien mistress finally spoke, her voice steady though her heart was not. "Do it if you must. Strike me down, but know this, if you take that path you will never be free. You will wear chains made of gold until the day you die." Her words cut deeper than the whispers. The human's hand trembled. His eyes burned as he looked from the council leader to the mistress. The silence stretched long, heavy, unbearable. Then with a sudden roar, the human spun, not toward her but toward the council leader. His sword flashed, slicing through the assassin who stood at the traitor's side. Blood sprayed across the golden walls. The hall erupted in chaos once more. The assassin screamed and attacked, blades clashing. The human fought harder than before, his voice echoing above the storm. "I serve not for gold. I serve because I choose." The alien mistress's eyes widened. For the first time, someone had rejected power, rejected wealth, and still chosen her. Not as a queen, not as a ruler, but as a person. The feeling that struck her chest now was not rage. It was something she had long buried. Trust. The council leader snarled, his face twisting with hatred. "Fool, you could have ruled. You chose chains over a crown." But the human's answer was a blade, cutting down another assassin who lunged for the mistress. His stance was unbroken, his honor unshaken. Yet even as the bodies fell, the whispers did not stop. The mask still pulsed inside the treasure room, its voice lingering in his mind, laughing, waiting. And above the chaos, the palace groaned as though something deep within it had awakened. The battle was far from over. The hall was filled with the smell of blood and the clash of steel. The human stood firm, his sword flashing in the golden light as assassins fell one by one. His breath came heavy, but his eyes burned with steady fire. Behind him, the alien mistress watched in silence. She had seen armies fight. She had seen champions rise and fall, but she had never seen anything like this. This was not a man fighting for gold. This was a man fighting because he chose to. The council leader snarled as more of his men dropped. He could not believe it. No bribe had worked. No promise of power had moved this human. Rage twisted his face and his voice rose like a storm. You are a fool. She will discard you when you no longer serve her. You are nothing but a sword in her hand. But the human's reply was simple, sharp, and unshaken. Then I am a sword that chooses where to strike. With that, he cut down another assassin, his blade moving with deadly precision. The alien mistress felt something stir deep within her, something she had buried under years of betrayal and lies. She had thought trust was dead. She had thought loyalty was only an illusion bought with gold. But here, in the midst of blood and treachery, she saw it alive again, in him. Yet as the last assassin fell to the floor, silence returned to the hall. The human stood with his sword dripping, his chest heaving, his body trembling. The whispers returned stronger than before. The cursed mask was awake, and it would not be ignored. The alien mistress stepped forward slowly, her voice soft but heavy. You resisted gold. You resisted their lies, but now you must resist yourself. Her eyes locked on his. The mask is not just a curse. It is a mirror. It shows you what you most desire, and then it takes everything else away. The human's hand trembled on the hilt of his sword. His eyes burned with visions no one else could see. He saw himself as a ruler, standing on the ashes of enemies. He saw endless worlds bowing to his command. He saw the alien mistress kneeling before him, not as a queen but as a slave. The mask whispered sweetly in his mind. Yes, this is who you are meant to be. Take me, wear me. The galaxy will never forget your name. His knees weakened. His honor fought to hold him upright, but the temptation dug deep. He had been poor once, forgotten, powerless. The mask knew exactly where to cut him open. The alien mistress reached out, her hand hovering near his shoulder. Her voice for the first time shook. Do not listen. You are more than its voice. You are more than its promises. The human lifted his gaze to her. Sweat rolled down his face, his eyes full of fire and storm. Why do you care? He whispered, his voice heavy. Why do you want me to resist? You never trusted anyone. You never needed anyone. Her lips parted, and for once she had no ready lie. The truth broke free before she could stop it. Because you are the first who did not betray me. The words hit harder than any blade. The human's chest tightened. The mask hissed in fury, its whispers turning into screams. She lies. She will use you, throw you aside. You belong to me. The air around them grew cold, the palace walls trembling as if the very stones feared the mask's hunger. The council leader, still alive but wounded, laughed bitterly from the floor. Look at you both, a human slave and a broken queen. Do you think loyalty will save you? He will wear the mask. He will turn on you. It is only a matter of time. The human turned sharply, his sword flashing. With one clean strike, the council leader's voice was silenced forever. The hall fell into stillness once more, but the silence did not last. The mask's power pulsed through the air, its voice deeper, more demanding. The ground cracked, the walls shook, and a dark wind swirled around them. The human clutched his head, falling to one knee. His voice broke in a cry. I cannot hold it back. Much longer. The alien mistress knelt beside him, her hand firm on his arm. Her voice was fierce now, carrying all the weight of her crown. Then do not hold it back alone. Let me stand with you. The human's eyes met hers, wild with pain, yet searching for something, truth, trust, hope. And for the first time in his life, he saw it reflected in her. Not wealth, not power, not command, just truth. The palace shook violently, golden bars crashing to the floor, dust filling the air. The mask screamed, a sound that tore through walls and hearts alike. The human's body shook as though he were being pulled apart. And then, as the dust settled, his sword clattered to the ground. His eyes closed. His body went still. The alien mistress gasped, her heart freezing. No. The mask's laughter filled the hall, deep and merciless. He is mine. The hall lay in ruins. Golden bars scattered across the cracked floor. Jewels rolled like marbles into the shadows, and broken bodies of assassins lay silent in the dust. In the center of it all, the human knelt motionless, his sword fallen from his hand. The alien mistress crouched beside him, her heart racing. His eyes were closed, his breath shallow, and above them both, the mask glowed with cruel light, its laughter echoing like thunder. He is mine, the mask hissed, its voice slithering into every corner of the hall. He chose me. He looked into the depths of his soul, and he belongs to me now. The alien mistress gritted her teeth, her claws curling against the stone. For centuries she had feared betrayal. She had built walls of gold around her heart, never trusting, never loving, never letting anyone close. But this man, this human, had broken through those walls without even trying. And now the mask threatened to take him. The human stirred, his body trembling as though invisible chains bound him. His eyes opened slowly, and the mistress gasped. They glowed faintly, not with his own steady fire, but with the shifting colors of the mask. His voice was hoarse, two tones twisting together, his own and the mask's. I see it all, he whispered. Power without end. Armies kneeling. Worlds burning. I could take it. I could rule it all. The mistress's chest tightened. She leaned close, her voice sharp. No, that is not you. That is the mask speaking. But the human's eyes narrowed as though he doubted himself. The whispers inside his head grew louder, promising glory, freedom, and an end to his years of serving others. The mask painted him visions of victory. He, the nameless bodyguard, becoming emperor of the stars. For one long moment his hand reached out toward the mask, drawn by its pull. The alien mistress's throat tightened. She did something she had not done in centuries, something she thought herself too proud to do. She pleaded. Her voice broke, raw with truth. Do not leave me. You are not a slave. You are not a king. You are more. You are the first to stand by me without asking for gold. You are the first to fight for me when all others betrayed me. If you take the mask, I lose you. The galaxy loses you. Please, choose yourself. Her words cut through the storm. The human's hand froze above the mask. His breath came fast, his face twisted in pain as the battle raged inside him. The mask roared in fury. Do not listen, she lies. She fears you. Take me and she will crawl before you. You will never be forgotten again. The human's chest heaved. He saw both paths before him, the path of the mask leading to power but emptiness, and the path of honor. Harder, lonelier, but true. He thought of the gold he had refused. He thought of the council's offer he had rejected. And then he thought of her, of the alien mistress standing beside him now, not as a ruler but as someone who, for once, spoke to him without lies, slowly, painfully. His trembling hand moved, not to take the mask but to his fallen sword. His fingers gripped the hilt tight. His voice, hoarse but steady, rang through the ruined hall. I do not want gold. I do not want crowns. I do not want chains made of power. I want freedom, for myself and for you. With a roar, he raised the sword high and brought it down upon the mask. The blade struck, and this time the light did not laugh. It screamed. A terrible, inhuman scream that shook the palace to its roots. Cracks split across the mask's surface, light bursting out in violent waves. The whispers turned to shrieks, fading into silence as the mask shattered into shards. The explosion of light threw them both to the ground. When the dust settled, the mask was gone. Only broken fragments lay scattered like dead stars across the floor. The hall was quiet again, except for the human's ragged breath. The alien mistress crawled toward him, her hands trembling. You, her voice faltered, then softened. You destroyed it. The human forced himself to sit up, his face pale, his body shaking. But his eyes were his own again, steady, calm, true. He met her gaze and gave a tired, faint smile. Not destroyed, freed. For a long moment they sat together in the ruins, the weight of what had happened pressing on them both. The palace was broken, the council lay dead, the mask was gone. Yet in the silence, something new was born. Not of gold, not of power, but of trust. The alien mistress rose slowly, her crown tilted, her robe torn. She extended a hand to him, not as a queen to a servant, but as one soul to another. Then serve me no longer as a guard, she whispered. Stand beside me, as something greater. The human looked at her hand. He thought of the gold, the power, the lies he had resisted. And then he took her hand, not as a servant but as an equal. Outside, the galaxy still burned with greed and betrayal. But inside the shattered palace, a new story began, of an alien mistress who learned trust, and a human who chose honor over gold, and across the stars, whispers spread of a man who had refused a god's mask and changed everything.